for you and for your clients. And so based on the information you shared, what I plan to cover today is a quick discussion around your client's primary financial challenges to get us all on the same page, to present a framework that CFPB uses to think about what comprises a household's financial security. After that, I'll define financial capability and then explore strategies that you can use to help your clients build financial capability. To help you think about how you can use this information, I'll then review approaches to integrating financial capability strategies into your work and provide examples from other organizations. Finally, I'll share resources that we have available and answer any questions you have. If you think of a question while I'm presenting, feel free to submit it in the chat box so that we can be sure to answer it during the Q&A. So to get started, we're going to ask a quick poll question. You know better than I do what financial challenges your clients are facing, so I'd like to hear from you now. These financial challenges can range from no credit or negative credit history, no access to affordable banking or checking accounts, a lack of savings or personal safety net, high amounts of debt, and difficulty making income last through the month. And so I recognize that your clients might be facing a range of these challenges, but I'd love for you to pick kind of the top one that you seem to see the most often with your clients.
We'll give you a couple more, just another 30 seconds here to get your vote in. Kori, can you see the results there?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
Do I need to switch the presenter to you?
Nope. Yeah, go ahead. We're closing the poll, folks. There we go. So 94% had difficulty making income last through the month. 82% said no savings or personal safety net. And 64% said no credit or negative credit history. And then after that came high amounts of debt. And after that, no access to affordable banking or checking accounts.
Okay, great. All right, thank y'all for completing the poll. It sounds like there's a mix of things, and it sounds like when your clients come in, the range of financial issues they're facing are complex and varied. So it might not just be a matter of getting people employed and helping them increase their income. There are also issues around getting people kind of a savings and a personal safety net so that when they find those jobs or that stable housing, they have a safety net to fall back on, or maybe it's fixing their credit so that when they're looking for a job, they're not prevented from finding a job because of their credit history or prevented from finding an apartment because of their credit history. So we're going to talk today about a framework that CFPB uses to think about a household's full financial security framework, and so their full lives, because we know it's much more complicated than it seems. And so what you want to be able to do is get people on a path to financial security and opportunity. And so what this framework illustrates from a household's perspective is what it really takes to build financial security over time. First, as you'll see at the top box, individuals must first learn the knowledge and skills that enable them to then earn income and manage their finances. They then use that income to take care of basic living expenses and debt payments, as well as save for emergencies in the future. As these savings grow, households can invest in assets that will appreciate over time and generate wealth and income. Throughout this cycle, access to insurance and consumer protections help households protect the gains they make. This is an ongoing process in which each component contributes to the next and the household's overall ability to become financially stable. So in addition to describing the connections between learning, earning, saving, investing, and protecting, The framework highlights the critical importance of delivering essential services to households and how those services, such as public benefits, child care, affordable housing, or matched savings, contribute to the overall financial well-being of the household. The framework's focus on the household provides a universal lens that we can all look through. From here, it's possible for any organization, government, nonprofit, philanthropic, or private sector to identify the specific ways that their work contributes to the financial betterment of families. It can also help you identify what additional financial security support that you can provide within your existing programs that already serve low and moderate income families. So the purpose of providing these financial security supports is to give individuals and families the capacity to manage their financial resources effectively. We refer to this capacity as financial capability. So I'll use the term financial capability throughout this presentation. And what I'm referring to here is the capacity to manage those resources effectively, which contributes to a household's overall financial security. This capacity depends on a range of factors. So individuals need knowledge about financial systems, about budgeting behaviors, about how credit and debt works. They need skills about how to manage their budget, how to assess whether or not credit offers are in their best interest or not, skills to save and build assets over time. And then they need access to resources. So they need to be able to access the financial mainstream, access mechanisms that are going to help them save, access tax credits that can help them build wealth over time. And so these three things combine to comprise the overall capacity that individuals and families need. And so when you're thinking about how you can help people attain the knowledge, skills, and access to resources that they need to get on their pathway to financial security, we can think of these in terms of financial capability strategies. And so some of these strategies include financial education. So when we think of financial education, we think of online or classroom-based instruction on specific financial topics or a broad range of general financial well-being. We think of one-on-one financial counseling and coaching sessions that tend to be longer term and provide either guidance with addressing specific financial issues such as credit or debt, and can also help set goals and check in and hold people accountable for those goals over time. Another strategy is helping people with credit and debt management, so helping people pull their credit reports and analyze whether or not they have a strong credit score and see what they can do to improve their credit or build their credit, and also what they can do to lower their debt and make sure they take on good debt in the future. Access to safe and affordable financial products is important to make sure people don't lose a lot of fees on check cashing services, that they have a mechanism to save safely, and that they are able to build wealth over time. Mechanisms that help people save can include match savings accounts, such as children's savings accounts, where accounts are opened up for children at a certain point in their lives, maybe when they start kindergarten. And then as families contribute to those accounts, matches are made over time so that when the child reaches age 18, they have that nest egg set aside for college or some sort of other form of training or higher education. Another option within savings mechanisms are adult savings accounts, so IDAs, which I know Vermont has, which further incentivize and help people save and build an asset. The next approach is tax credits and filing assistance. So for those of you who are familiar with VITA sites or volunteer income tax assistance sites, and helping people access the earned income tax credit or child tax credit can really increase their income each year. And then finally, access to federal and state benefits that are going to support people as they work toward lasting financial stability. So organizations can provide a range of these strategies, and really what you choose to provide or what you're currently providing is going to depend on what your clients need. And so understanding which of these your clients need and what would best help them improve their financial lives is an important component of providing these services. So in recent years, there's been a movement around the country among social service organizations to integrate these types of financial capability strategies into their work. And so some organizations who have specifically implemented financial coaching and income supports into employment services found that for people who took up 2 or more of those services were 3 to 4 times more likely to attain jobs, to increase their income, and to increase their savings than those people who only received one service. So if someone came in for just employment support, they were less likely to achieve these outcomes than those people who also received income supports or financial coaching along the way. Another report found that clients who opened a savings or checking account secured 12 additional hours of work per week, which is 33% more hours than those who didn't have any financial goals that they were able to achieve. Researchers also found that clients that establish automatic savings accounts that are deposited into automatically earn an additional $224 more per week, which is 31% more earnings compared to those who did not achieve any financial goals. And so these organizations have found that by adding in financial capability strategies into their other social services, they're able to increase the impact that those services have and ultimately lead to greater economic outcomes for their clients. So if you're thinking about integrating financial capability strategies into your work, there are a range of options available. So in our work, we found that these options generally fall into 3 categories. The first of these is refer. So you can refer your clients out to other organizations. This involves knowing who does what and then sharing this information with clients, or creating a more formal referral network in which you can make a very warm handoff from your organization to another that provides a financial education or another class or service that your clients might need. Another option for delivering these services is through more formal partnerships. And so these can just be formal partnerships to provide services, or they could involve actually co-locating multiple services in one location, or even co-branding and co-locating multiple services in one location. And I'll share an example of what that can look like in a minute. Finally, there's a third option that we call the do-it-yourself or DIY approach, which involves building your internal capacity to deliver new services. And which approach you select is going to depend on your internal capacity to provide services, as well as the external capacity of partners in your area to serve your clients, and whether or not their services meet the needs of your clients and will meet them where they are. So let's walk through briefly an example of each of these approaches to hopefully give you some ideas about which of these approaches you might be interested in, and hopefully give you some ideas for how you can expand your service offerings. So the referral option involves finding organizations who provide services that your clients need, and then setting up a process for connecting your clients with those services. An advantage of this approach is that it's less resource intensive for your organization because it relies on the capacity, the time, and staffing of other organizations. One disadvantage of this approach is that clients have to travel to another location, which can limit their take-up of services. Also, partners may be working toward a different set of goals and outcomes than you are, or their services may not be a good fit for your client. So just because they're delivering a service doesn't mean that it's necessarily a good fit for the specific clients you serve, whether they're low-income mothers or children or youth or single men who are coming out of homelessness. So an example of an organization that used this approach is the Seattle-King County Asset Building Collaborative. This group of organizations put together a resource guide called Your Money Helpline, which contains information about services provided throughout the county. It includes information about each services that would allow other organizations to make referrals to them. So organizations who want to find out where their clients can take a financial education workshop, for example, only need to look on the resource guide to find out who provides those workshops, when and where they're provided, and how clients can sign up for them. This ensures that the organizations who are receiving the referrals are expecting clients and have the capacity to serve them. It also ensures that there's a warm handoff, which will increase the likelihood that clients will use that service. So the second approach I mentioned is partner, and so partnering with other organizations to deliver services involves deeper relationships than a referral, and involves sharing clients with another organization. And so one partnership option is to co-locate services, which involves multiple services being hosted at one organization's site so that people don't have to travel, kind of a one-stop shop approach. Taking this approach a step further, some organizations might also co-brand services by providing them at one neutral location with one brand. And often this approach includes a centralized intake process and common outcomes that the partner organizations are working toward. An advantage to this approach is that it maximizes the strengths and reach of multiple organizations. By co-locating, you prevent your clients from having to travel to multiple locations. And co-branding helps meet the holistic needs of clients by partnering with organizations to achieve the same outcomes that you are. A disadvantage might be that you have to compromise on some of the goals you might want to achieve as an organization, or you might have to give up some autonomy in your delivery of service. Also, these partnerships can take a lot of time to establish, especially if you're deciding where to locate services or how to brand them. So partnership can take on lots of different forms. An example I'm going to talk about today is the Spark Point model. And so in this model, the United Way of the Bay Area in San Francisco brought together a group of organizations under one roof and under the Spark Point brand to provide coordinated services. And so Spark Point services focus on 3 key areas, which are managing credit, increasing income, and building assets. And so clients come in and receive not just one, but 2 or 3 of these services. And when clients first come in the door, the person doing intake is able to assess where clients are and then easily connect them with the service within the organization that's going to best meet their needs. And because everything's located in one place, there can easily be referrals between each of the organizations or service providers. And SparkPoint has found that individuals who come in and take up one service versus individuals who come in and take up 2 or 3 of these services have much greater outcomes. And so the more services that they take up, the greater their outcomes are because they're able to meet their financial needs in a more holistic way. The final approach is building capacity to deliver your services in-house. And so this approach involves building your internal capacity to embed financial security services into your existing services. An advantage of this is that you have the autonomy you need to ensure that goals and activities contribute to your organizational mission, and you get to provide all the services in one location. A disadvantage is that this is more resource intensive, and so you might need funding to hire staff or train staff and provide additional support. As you know, anytime you ask people to take on more work for themselves, it takes away from other services they're able to provide, and so it's important to be able to think about what capacity you have and what services you want to prioritize and what you can reasonably ask your staff to do. An example of an organization that took this approach is Central New Mexico Community College. And so what CNMCC did is that they built a Center for Working Families at their community college where they provide access to income support, and they actually provide staff on site who are trained financial coaches. And so they work with students at the community college to make sure that they're connected with all the income supports for which they're eligible. And they also provide ongoing financial coaching. So this is one-on-one support. The coaches aren't financial experts. Instead, they're trained in how to help clients form goals and then monitor clients' progress toward those goals. And Central New Mexico Community College found that among students who took up these services at the Center for Working Families, their college retention rate was 84.7%. compared to 70% for the other students at the community college. And so organizations tend to provide a variety and combination of these approaches to connect their clients with strategies. And so organizations often aren't going to just build their capacity in-house or just refer clients out for all of these services or just rely on partnerships, but often they'll find a blend of these approaches that works best for their clients and works best for their organization. And so an example here involves training case managers to pull and review credit reports on site. And then for clients who need additional financial coaching, a referral can be made to a local financial coaching provider. And then as these are happening, there are also ongoing on-site financial education classes provided by another organization with that kind of expertise. And then the local VITA, or Volunteer Income Tax Assistance site, comes on site to do tax prep in a computer lab at the organization. And so as you can see, this meets the holistic needs that clients might have while providing a range of approaches that kind of meshes the strengths of partner organizations and the strengths of your own organization. So in thinking about how to use these approaches and what's out there to help you build your capacity or assess the capacity of partners, I wanted to point you to a number of resources that are available. And so CFED conducts webinars pretty frequently. A couple of months ago, we actually organized one on how to help clients on SSI and SSDI build assets. And so that's on our website under our resource directory. We also have a blog, The Inclusive Economy, where we post updates from partners and updates from CFED, both from our applied research team on what strategies to building financial security are most promising, what works, and also guidance for other organizations who might want to pursue that work. We also have publications that it might be more in-depth research papers or practice guides that other organizations can use and learn from. And then finally, we have a network of national, state, and local partners that you can learn from and reach out to. And so one of the ways we kind of formalize these partnerships with other organizations around the country is through our Assets and Opportunity Network. And so the ANO Network is a national learning and advocacy community. And so the purpose of this group, which launched in 2012, is to answer the call for a more effective way to collaborate nationally, to learn and test better ways to expand economic opportunity, but also to provide a coordinated and effective constituency that can advocate for policies at all levels of government. And so in case you're not already connected to the ANO Network, you can become a general member for free by going to www.assetsandopportunity.org/network. The network has a listserv and has a number of resources available for network members, and often scholarships to events or exclusive access to learning opportunities or resources. Where you see the stars on this map are where there are either state or local lead organizations. And so these are organizations that are responsible for bringing together the organizations in a community around topics related to assets and opportunity of the residents in their state or locality. And so we've got state and local leads around the country. Vermont doesn't have a state or local lead yet, but if you're interested in becoming a state or local lead or interested in working with another partner to do that, then please feel free to reach out to us at CFED. I'll share my contact information at the end, and we'd be happy to share more information about that. We also have a number of data resources available, and so every year CFED updates our Assets and Opportunity Scorecard, which is a go-to source for data on household financial security. And so it includes state data on how families are faring, as well as policy data, state by state and nationally, on a number of indicators related to financial security, so education, employment, housing, and then asset building and financial education. We also provide unbanked and underbanked estimates for cities, towns, and census tracts through our partners at joinbankon.org. You can access that website directly to get local information, and then we provide local financial security data for select cities. And so if you're interested in that, you can reach out to us. And we've got some profiles already up on the website. Coming up in September, on September 17th and 19th, if you don't have any plans for those days yet, you're welcome to come to DC and join us for that Assets Learning Conference. The Assets Learning Conference is our biennial conference, brings together about 1,200 practitioners from around the country who are interested in learning more about how to help the people they serve build financial assets, and also how to advocate to local, state, and federal policymakers to make sure that the policy infrastructure supports what their clients are trying to achieve and doesn't create unnecessary barriers. If you are interested in joining us on September 17th through 19th for the conference, you can go to assetsconference.org to register and learn more. And with that, I want to turn it over to all of you to hear about any questions that you have and give you the chance to ask questions about anything that I didn't cover or that you want more information about.
Thanks, Kori. We will just, if you want to use your chat window to ask any questions here, that would be great. I will start with sort of a general question, which is a lot of times the people we work with just lack income. And this is sort of a comment and a question, and if they had more income, they would be able to then meet their basic needs and then move on to savings. So how are these strategies different than just income? You know, why should we focus on these strategies? And how is this different than just focusing on maybe what would be income-based strategies? I'm paraphrasing here.
All right, great. So that's a great question. And one of the things that CFPD, one of our approach to household financial security, as you saw in the framework, is that it takes more than just income for families to get by and for families to get ahead. And so these financial capability strategies can actually help people increase their income. So access to public benefits provides additional income through cash assistance on TANF or food stamps or utility or energy assistance. And then if we're thinking about tax preparation, the earned income tax credit for people who do have earned income or the child tax credit for people who have kids can be a really big income booster. And then as we're thinking about it, preparing people for jobs, so in job training programs or community college training and other kinds of employment and educational opportunities, it can be important to address barriers to employment. And so in thinking about, a lot of employers actually check people's credit reports before they hire them, and that can be a disqualifier for some people. And so if you are able to help people boost their credit report or fix errors on their credit report that might be affecting them without them realizing it, then you could perhaps increase their ability to get employed and then in turn increase their ability to earn income. I'd say another important piece of this is as we were looking at the results from the financial clinic in New York City, they had found that actually people achieved better employment outcomes if they had access to savings accounts or had access to budgeting assistance. And so maybe some of these financial capability strategies don't necessarily help people find jobs and increase their income, but it could help them move forward. So if they have a personal safety net, they don't have to worry about missing work when their car breaks down. They have a safety net to fix their car so that they don't miss work and they don't lose their job. Or if they have a safety net to address medical emergencies, for example, then they don't have to worry at their job and potentially lose their job when they're having to deal with theirs or a family member's medical emergency. And so each approach, each financial capability strategy is going to be different for each person, but I would say that some of these can be used to help people increase income, and then others can be used to help people keep jobs that are going to allow them to continue to build income. So hopefully that answers your question.
Someone has asked if you could speak a little bit more about the partnership and program at the New Mexico Community College.
I'll take a stab at it, and if there are any additional questions you have that I don't answer, just let me know. Central New Mexico Community College, their president actually decided that they needed to bring this financial coaching model, this Center for Working Families model on site. And so the Annie Casey Foundation actually launched this Center for Working Families model. And then other agencies, other national organizations have helped expand it at different centers around the country. And so it's the center-based model around providing employment support, income support, and financial coaching in one location where other services are already provided. And so some of these have happened at community colleges, and Central New Mexico Community College has become a partner in that network and is one of many community colleges around the country who are actually bringing those types of services on site for their students.
We have a question from our room, from our live audience, so just speak, Jim.
Just speak. Okay. Hi. This question kind of pertains to the New Mexico example because it's a question pertaining to organizations that have in-house financial capability programs, of which we are one. We have such a program, and now we're very interested in exploring ways to integrate that program with other programs within our organization. We're a community action agency. The programs are diverse, everything from crisis services to Head Start to weatherization to tenant services. And we're looking to be creative in terms of integrating the financial capability with all these other kinds of services. So I was wondering if you had any examples of organizations doing that or any thoughts on that subject. Thank you.
Sure. So two examples come to mind. So what SparkPoint does is they have a centralized intake, and so they actually ask people a range of questions when they first come in, and then they have a person who's responsible for making sure that the client's financial needs are addressed as well as any other needs they have. And so that intake process allows them to be more coordinated in their approach. And so everyone has access to the same information. And because the organization is so collaborative, they're able to easily make connections between different service providers. Another example is a community action agency we're working with in Columbus, Ohio, who actually provides employment services in one part of their organization, and in financial services, an IDA program, financial coaching, financial workshops in another part of their agency. And they've been working recently on trying to kind of integrate those more intentionally so that everyone who's participating in their employment services really has as many opportunities as possible to interact with the financial services team. And so one of the things they've done is incorporate financial workshops throughout their 5-week employment training program. And so a financial coach or a financial educator at a bank will come in and do a workshop about credit during 1 hour during a job training program. They also are doing a centralized intake process where they do a financial assessment at the very beginning, and that allows financial coaches to actually follow up with people one-on-one if they opted in to receive an IDA program they wanted to sign up for if they were interested, or they said specifically they wanted to work with a financial coach on their debt issues. And that way it's not on the employment services provider, it's on the financial services provider, and they're able to more easily target their services and be a little bit more intentional about how they're serving the holistic needs of clients. So does that answer your question in terms of how other organizations have approached this integration?
Could you give the name of the Ohio agency?
Sure. It's Impact Community Action.
Impact?
Impact, I-M-P-A-C-T. Impact.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kori, someone has asked if you could just repeat the name of the webinar about working with SSI, SSDI recipients to grow their assets.
I can't remember what it was called. It already passed, and we have a recording up on our website. So after every webinar, we post a recording and the slides up on our website, and so people can go back and rewatch them. So if you go to cfed.org, across the top, you'll see our Knowledge Center. If you click on that and then do a search for SSI or SSDI, those webinar materials should come up. And so you should be able to find the recording of the audio as well as the PowerPoint slides. You can go back and watch that.
Great. Thank you. We also have a number of questions of folks asking about the PowerPoint or a recording, and we will post those on our website after today. So, so if you didn't take your notes quickly enough, don't worry, it'll be there for you to go back and look at. We have a comment around that one of the biggest issues clients are facing are poor credit that disqualifies them for housing. And this kind of leads me to think broadly about, I know that a number of the people on the webinar are working with folks who are really precariously housed or even homeless. And I wonder if you could speak a little bit to any examples in working with homeless or precariously housed populations, and what this kind of work looks like in those circumstances.
Sure. So we're actually working with the DC Department of Human Services to integrate some financial capability strategies at their family homeless shelter. And so they recognized that when families are in their shelter, they're, housed and have their basic needs taken care of. But when they leave the shelter, they have a really hard time building a personal safety net or finding jobs and securing more stable housing. And so they've decided to work with them on a range of financial issues, including their credit, while they're in shelter, so that when they leave shelter, they've hopefully built up some savings through a match savings program. And what they're planning to do is ask people to divert a portion of their TANF benefits into an escrow account, and then for every dollar that they deposit, the Department of Human Services will actually match their savings. We did a listening session with the families in the shelter, and they had said that while they're in the homeless shelter, they actually have a little bit of money left from their benefits because they aren't having to pay for their housing, and so they felt like they could deposit a portion of those benefits into a savings account while they were in shelter, especially if they were going to receive a match, so that when they left shelter, they could actually use that money to put a down payment or security deposit down on an apartment. And then I know what the Department of Human Services is hoping they are able to accomplish as well while they're in shelter is completing financial education that talks about how to pull your credit report and how to review that for errors or for helping to share strategies with people how they can improve their credit. They're also going to provide access to financial coaching, and so one-on-one support where a financial coach will sit down with them and look at their credit history, whether they have no credit or poor credit, and develop a plan for improving their credit. And I know that there are a range of organizations around the country who provide credit counseling services that can be helpful for people in that kind of situation who want more in-depth services around how to improve their credit, how to build credit. Another organization we're working with here in DC is actually planning to launch a rent reporting project soon. And so with people who are in their subsidized housing, if they pay their rent on time for 6 months, then they'll give them the option for the agency, the housing provider, to start reporting their on-time payments to the 3 major credit bureaus so that it can count toward their positive credit history. And so it's an opt-in model, but this rent reporting piece has become more and more common around the country, along with opportunities to help clients build savings or access financial education or coaching while they're either in shelter or in subsidized housing programs.
Thank you. Someone sort of, this is an interesting question, and I'd love to get your perspective on it. What is your view on budget sheets? I use them with my clients, and I wonder if having a budget sheet set up with all of their bills and earnings can sometimes be overwhelming. And what do you think? And maybe you could just talk about any other examples you know of programs working on budgeting and how they're tying in other pieces with budgeting.
Okay. So I'm not a financial expert or a coach or educator, and so I'm not super qualified to be able to say, oh yes, budget sheets are great or they're not great. I can say that I've seen other financial educators take a range of approaches with clients, and so they might have a cash flow budget that shows people how much money is coming in and out each month, and that helps a lot of people who have fluctuating income understand that, the first week of the month they'll have a lot of money, but a lot of their bills will be due at the end of the month, and work with them on strategies to make sure that they're able to make that income last. And so I think people take a range of approaches to developing a budget with people, but I do realize that it can be overwhelming. I mean, for me personally, sitting down and analyzing how much money is coming in and out every month is overwhelming and can be a little shocking and upsetting, and sometimes it's easier not to think about it. And so I think you have to be really careful when you're having these conversations with clients and do what you can to empower them and help them feel like this is a manageable thing they can do. So maybe it's setting smaller goals around budgeting and celebrating those goals along the way. So maybe just making the income last one more day out of the month, or paying off one more bill, or maybe there's a way to break it up into smaller pieces. I think that's about all I can think of. I know that there are a number of financial education resources online that probably have much better advice than I would, and much more specific tools and resources that you could use that would probably be helpful.
That's great. No, I think that's a good answer, and there are a lot of resources out there, and I think the question is a good one because I think that oftentimes that's how our programs and our services are approaching financial security work, is to start with the budget, and that budget becomes so overwhelming that it's hard to be able to engage in the conversation again. And so I think you have some good practical advice there, and we'll try and put some links on our website as well, maybe to some other resources for people.
There's actually, that reminds me, there's a new resource that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau just put out. It's a toolkit for social service programs, and so it's actually a toolkit for social service providers to use when having conversations with clients about financial topics. So it's not intended to make people experts on financial topics, but it actually has questions and assessments and tools that help people have conversations with clients in ways that are a little less overwhelming or take into account specific either fears or misconceptions that people might have around finances or financial systems. That toolkit's called Your Money, Your Goals, and I can actually send a link, Sarah and Kristen, to you after the call. It just actually got released publicly yesterday. And they have online trainings and resources, and I think it's going to be a great resource for social service providers who don't need to be financial experts, but need to be able to navigate these difficult waters of talking with people about their finances in a way that's not going to be overwhelming or scary, but is really going to help them think about their future and concrete steps they can take now to improve their current financial situation.
Great. Yes, I think that's going to be a great resource, and we will post it so people can have that and send it out to the attendees as well. Thank you. So another question here is, do we know about some of the best strategies for rural communities, co-location versus not co-location, and how we target specific subpopulations or communities such as young or single parents versus just holding general classes? So I think there's kind of two parts to this question. Is one, can you think of any examples from rural communities? Because we know that it's very different than in urban communities. And then the second part would be any examples that have targeted specific subpopulations or communities versus just the general population.
Sure. So one organization I know of who has done a lot of asset building work in rural communities is Rural Dynamics Incorporated. And so if you go to their website, you can learn more about what they're doing. I'm not super well versed on it, but I know that they've been successfully doing this work in rural communities for a while. And so they might have some good ideas and recommendations and tools on how they approach this work in rural communities. In terms of resources, I feel like the more that's virtual, the better. It's hard to make a referral to a financial coach if there's not an organization providing financial coaching across the street. And so I feel like the ability to leverage online tools like the Money Smart financial education curriculum or virtual financial coaching platforms that are becoming more common can be valuable resources. And so in thinking about what can be provided virtually to staff or to clients, because it is really challenging. It's a lot easier to provide these kinds of services in a city that has tons of resources dedicated to it versus rural areas where there's fewer services concentrated in one geographic area. And then what was your second question? Oh, about specific populations.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know there's been work around, so I'm thinking, I know the Assets for Independence program, the federal IDA program, has done some work around targeted populations and asset building. And so if you go to their website, idaresources.org, they have some buttons on the right that are targeted toward persons with disabilities and how to work with them. I know that the National Disability Institute has also done a lot of work around this, and they actually provide technical assistance to organizations that are working with people with disabilities on how to provide these services to them and how to tailor them for people with disabilities. And thinking about other populations, I know there's some work around fatherhood, and so there's some fatherhood programs, and they're actually on idaresources.org. People have talked about it, about specific approaches to either helping non-custodial parents or fathers in other kinds of contexts, because there tend to be a lot fewer social services for fathers, especially single fathers, than there are for other populations. There's also a lot of asset building for Native populations. CFED's done some work around this. And then I think there's also information about Native American outreach and also outreach to refugee and immigrant populations on the idaresources.org website, and specific things you can do for that group. And thinking about the Native American population, one resource is the First Nations Development Institute, which might have some helpful resources. Other breakdowns might be different age categories, and so the National Resource Center for Youth Development, we worked with them recently to develop a toolkit for people working with youth transitioning out of foster care. And so, youth transitioning out of foster care face a very different set of financial challenges than other youth their age and then other adults generally. And so that toolkit addresses, what kinds of financial issues should they be working on? Has someone stolen their identity or they're, misused their credit in the past? How do you fix those issues? How do you make sure they're able to be independent and self-sufficient adults? There's also, I know, been some work around how to target strategies for people in Head Start, so Head Start families, Head Start kids, what to do for kids in a Head Start setting. We've done some work around that, so if you're interested in that, you can email me. My contact information will be up at the end of the PowerPoint. If there are any other specific populations, feel free to, and then older Americans. I know that AARP and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has both done a lot of work around developing financial education curricula and other resources for older Americans and helping them think through what issues they're facing. And then there's also been some work around prisoner reentry and how to help people who are reintegrating into the community either pay off past debts and make sure that they're able to live independently.
Thanks, Kori. You just rattled off a lot of resources, and I just got a couple questions saying, can you please email us those? So maybe if you send us some links, we can make sure those get out to people who have registered. And as you said, your contact information will be up at the end, and people can always follow up with you. So.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't miss the one that someone was asking about. But if I did, they can shoot me an email, and I'm happy to provide resources that I know about.
That's great. Thank you. I wonder if you can, well, we have another question here I'll get to before I ask my question. Let's see. Currently, I have access to multiple avenues to obtain credit reports from all three credit bureaus, but none to obtain a FICO score. Are you aware of any no-cost options for this? Actually, Jim White in the room might have an answer to that as well. I'll put him on the spot, but Kori, maybe you do. No. As you said, you're not a financial expert yourself. You're more of an expert on the field in general, but maybe you have an answer to that question.
So I can't speak on behalf of CFED. Me personally, I use Credit Karma, which is free to use and updates your. You can access your credit history and your credit score as often as you want. There's also Credit Sesame that I've heard other people use, but I'm not endorsing either service. They're not endorsed by or provided by either of the major credit bureaus. But I've heard of a lot of people using them successfully, and so it might be something worth exploring.
Thank you. Jim, do you have anything to add to that one?
Only that we did some tests with Credit Karma, and a lot of their scores are approximate at best. We found some with a 60-point discrepancy between the Credit Karma score and the FICO score. You got to be careful.
So what do you use with people, Jim, to obtain their FICO score?
It's a problem. I mean, basically, people have to pony up $20 to get their FICO score. So it's largely inaccessible for a lot of people.
Yeah, there have been some organizations we've worked with who have tried to find funding for that, and so maybe they pull credit reports and scores for people once a year, and they provide the funding for it. But it is a hard thing, and that's not sustainable at scale, and it is a barrier to getting that information. The Credit Builders Alliance might be a good group to reach out to for additional help, but other than that, I agree that is a problem, and there aren't a lot of great solutions for it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Credit Builders Alliance is a great resource. I know that Jim's organization is a member. That's his organization, by the way, is CBOEO, Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity. And we have some great examples of, not examples, but some great partners in the state of Vermont who are doing really innovative work around financial capability and some resources. And that was actually one person's question is there a list in Vermont of places where we can refer people? And, you know, I would say start with 211. That is sort of the comprehensive list of where to refer resources. And Jim is saying he wants to answer this question also.
Yes, the state treasurer's website has a clearinghouse of financial education resources.
That's great. That's right. I forgot there's another specific clearinghouse for financial education, the state treasurer's office. And I would also give a shout out to community action agencies that are doing work around financial capability strategies, not just financial education, but also those other pieces around skills and access and tools that help people, low-income people, to save and build assets. So I'll just put that out there. Is there any, let's see, I just want to make sure if there were any other questions on here that I haven't gotten to. Kori, I know you had one last poll that you wanted to do with people. Should we see if we can do that? This is a new piece for us using the polls. I think we've done all right so far. So people, just hold on a second.
Oh, sorry. So the question on the poll is going to be, what is one way that you'll use the information presented here today? And so we designed this presentation with your inputs, the answers you provided at registration, but I'm really curious to know what of this you found helpful and how you plan to actually use this information. And so if you could take a second to respond to the poll, that'd be really helpful for us. And hopefully also be helpful for you in thinking about how to make this information real and how to apply it in your work.
Poll is in progress. See if people are still awake at their computers. Give it another 30 seconds here. Going up. We're still going up. People are still answering. All right, we're going to go ahead and close the poll. I will, there we go. So 65% said that they will be using CFED as a resource to learn more about financial capability. And then just under that, 45% collaborate with a local partner to provide services. Talk with my colleagues about adding financial capability strategies to our services. And then 35% are going to just learn more about clients' financial lives in general. So, great.
Wonderful. Sounds great. Thanks for sharing. I hope you're successful in doing all this. And if you, as you're working on this, have any questions or need access to other resources or other partners, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. My contact information is on the screen. And then I'll be sure to share the PowerPoint and list of population-specific resources with Kristen and Sarah after the presentation. So thank you, all of you, for your attention and for your great questions. I feel like all the questions you asked are really relevant and show that you really understand your clients' financial lives and are really thinking about how to best help them build their financial security. And so I wish you all the best and appreciate all the great work you're doing and appreciate your time today. So take care and hope to hear from some of you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Kori. I just one last plug for our next Shining a Light on Poverty series, Thursday, August 28th at 10 a.m. Anthony Poor from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston is going to present on the power of children's savings accounts. It's a nice tie over from today and talk about the really compelling research and examples out there how children's savings accounts are helping low-income children go to college and complete college on their pathway to success. So thanks again, Kori, so much for joining us today. We were really privileged and honored to have you speak to us in Vermont. And I would also encourage anyone who's interested in this work in general to not just be in touch with Kori, but please be in touch with our office. We like to, whenever we can, to help make the connections around Vermont between asset building, financial capability, and social services. And if you are interested in being a part of a state network working on in this area, in this field, of which Kori pointed out we don't have a state network specifically in Vermont, you know, reach out to us and we'd be interested in hearing that as well. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.